Hey guys, it's Scotty Kilmer here with the Ultimate BMW Experience. I want to thank you all for subscribing, and for those of you who are new here, welcome to the family. Speaking of the Fast and Furious movies, this video is geared, pun intended, to those with a manual transmission who need to feel like a badass. Now today's video is about a technique called heel-toe downshifting. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with it. Well, for those of you who aren't, it's basically just dropping a gear while braking. This concept is generally easier on an N54/N55 platform because typically when you drop a gear, your inlets or your charge pipes will explode. Yeah, we all know braking comes pretty easy for the 335 guys, but luckily for them, we're not talking about that kind of braking. Now, why would you want to use this technique? So let's say you're coming hot into a turn. The turn is pretty sharp and you intend to throttle out once the road straightens out again. So you come into the turn and you need to brake pretty hard. After braking, you need to be able to drop a gear to have the torque to power out of it. The fastest way to do it is to drop gears while you're braking and turning. But with having 3 pedals on the floor and me unfortunately only having 2 legs below my belt, sorry ladies, you can see the need for this technique. Every car is a bit different, but the way BMWs are arranged, the throttle is mounted to the floor and the brake and the clutch are from the ceiling. The spacing can be a little different from other cars, but I'm going to show you this is actually not too hard to do. To practice, you might want to go to a parking lot or somewhere where noise won't bother anybody. The car does need to be running so that your brakes will decompress after you do the motions. Because of the orientation of the pedals, the heel toe technique is more so big toe, pinky toe, swivel type of move. So first what you're going to do is you're going to put your foot kind of almost halfway on the pedal. Find the position that works well for you so your foot doesn't slip off. Once you find a position that works well for you, push in the brakes like you would in any typical driving situation. Now, keeping your ankles straight, you're going to want to swivel your entire leg to the right to hit the throttle pedal. If you're used to rev matching, you're probably used to how much pressure it takes to properly rev for a downshift, but since you're using a different part of your foot, the amount of pressure and the feeling is going to be completely different. So just sitting with your car parked, just get a feel for how much pressure it takes to get the revs where you would want them to be. So do the motion a bunch of times just to get used to the feel, and then slowly you can start working in the clutch motion as well. You want to have a good idea on how much pressure it takes because you don't want to over rev going into a downshift, and you certainly don't want to under rev as well. Now that you have the motions down, try it out for real. Maybe some gentle downshifts from 4th to 3rd or 3rd to 2nd at slower speeds. I found that it was easier to learn this technique when doing it in a practical sense. So maybe heel-toe downshift through the gears as you approach a stop sign, or maybe just around some gentle turns. When starting out, keep it pretty relaxed. It's pretty easy to rev more than you need to. Practice this in situations where it doesn't require you to do the technique too fast, but it does need to be a situation where you're braking hard enough to justify downshifting. What I mean to say is do it in situations where it makes sense. When you do it in situations where you wouldn't be braking, like just driving down a highway, it just doesn't feel as natural. So like I said, maybe as you approach a stop sign or before you make a turn down a street or something like that, as long as you're safe. That's pretty much all the advice that I can give. You kind of just have to do it to get used to it. But once you do, it's a very rewarding experience. It's a useful technique. Just have the patience and you'll eventually get it. Thanks for watching. I hope this was useful to you. Leave a comment if you have any questions, and share it with your friends. Thanks.